Good afternoon, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be here in Paris. What a beautiful city this is. I'm so happy to be here with everyone. It's such a pleasure to meet so many intelligent, ambitious, and kind people, and I look forward to meeting many more of you throughout the course of the conference. Today I want to talk about unlocking the next wave of institutional adoption through a concept of proof of sustainable mining. Now, before I get started, I wanted to quickly thank the Protocol Labs team and the Filecoin Labs team for putting on such an important conference. It's not every day in crypto or Bitcoin that you get to be surrounded by people who are mission aligned with you in terms of what's so important of climate change and the renewable energy transition. So it's really a pleasure to be here with everybody. While I do hope to meet many of you over the next day or two, I want to give you a little bit of background on myself so you understand the perspective in which I am trying to address this challenge of unlocking the next wave of institutional adoption. I've spent my entire career in sustainability. Specifically, the last 9 years, I helped build the sustainability department for the New York Stock Exchange listed conglomerate VF Corporation, which is the owner of the North Face, Vans, Timberland, and Supreme, to name a few. And we built that department from about 4 employees to 140 globally. And I led all of our Asia and European sustainability operations. Specifically, I worked on things like renewable energy feasibility studies that led to, as an example, the development of the largest solar rooftop project in Southeast Asia. I also built a resource efficiency program focusing on chemicals, water, and energy that was picked up by the World Bank, IFC, and scaled to various multinational corporations and countries throughout the world. I also sat on the board of various sustainability standards and watched how sectoral change takes place. And then I also did our non-US government engagement, engaging governments around the world on both environmental and social sustainability. This is a fun photo somewhere in the middle of Phnom Penh, Cambodia. This seems like a lifetime ago that I was doing this job. Now, I went down this path, which I feel many of you guys probably also went down, which is the proverbial crypto rabbit hole. And for me, it was really Bitcoin that was so fascinating. It's just such a unique asset with economic policy hard-coded into it and just a hard money that has really never existed in human history before. And in 2020, I all of a sudden became aware of the significant and increasing energy consumption of the network. And I came to realize that, in fact, this growing energy consumption is surely going to be limiting institutional adoption of Bitcoin because of the perceived negative environmental impacts. And so it became clear to me, I had a life calling, something I needed to do, something I deeply wanted to do, and that is to work on addressing the sustainability of Bitcoin. Now, once this sort of calling was solidified, we needed a mission. And together with my team, we've put together a very clear mission. Our mission is to make Bitcoin our planet's most powerful climate-positive asset. Now, that seems like a far stretch from where things are today, where the media makes the perception that Bitcoin is terrible for the environment. How can we get it from where it is today to climate positive? Well, in fact, there's actually quite a clear path, and I'd love to show our thinking and our vision about how we might be able to get there. The challenge is quite clear, surely to everybody in this room. Bitcoin's energy consumption limits adoption. It limits institutional adoption because the ESG mandates that are governing more than $50 trillion in capital are preventing asset allocators from entering this incredibly unique asset class. So While we know that Bitcoin has a substantial and growing energy consumption footprint, it also has this perceived negative environmental impact that is, frankly speaking, above and beyond the actual impact of the network. It is a misconstrued, in terms of the sustainability impact, is misunderstood. And really the reason for that, first and foremost, is because while today there may be 40 or 50% of the global mining using renewable energy, there's no standardized verification to actually prove that the network is using renewable energy. But it is. The network is using a significant portion of renewable energy. So if we could prove that it's using renewable energy and start to increase the amount of renewable energy that it uses, perhaps then ESG investors will start to feel more comfortable in investing in Bitcoin. So while we have the challenge sort of clear to everyone, I want to give you guys a little bit of the vision of where I think Bitcoin's sustainability should go. Our objective is to build sustainability infrastructure for Bitcoin. And this is an intentionally broad term, sustainability infrastructure. And it's intentionally broad because Bitcoin is a rapidly evolving asset class where miners are using new energy sources all the time. It's developing in a way that's very unique, and it's simply a unique asset class relative to so many other asset classes out there. And that is because Bitcoin is simply a factor of energy and computational power. And so if we can start to develop sustainability infrastructure to tell the real story of Bitcoin from a sustainability or climate impact perspective, we can change the narrative altogether. So I want to outline three sort of key objectives for this sustainability infrastructure for now. First, we need to drive behavioral change of miners. We want miners who are using clean or renewable energy to be incentivized to do so or rewarded to do so. But in order to do that, we need to have some sort of mechanism that connects institutional investors, ESG investors, to Bitcoin miners who are doing the right thing already today. And for those that aren't already using renewable energy, how do we incentivize them to do so? And so the concept that we've been developing is one called proof of sustainable mining. And it effectively allows the transfer of sustainable mining practices or sustainability attributes from a miner to an institutional investor. Now, we believe this is the key trajectory that we need to go down. But importantly, we wanted to design something that does not disrupt the fungibility of Bitcoin in any way, which would create a lot of friction and ultimately slow adoption. So the question then is, well, how do you verify the use of renewable energy in Bitcoin mining? Well, it's actually quite a lot simpler than one might think. All over the world, and frankly speaking, I'm sure everyone in the room here is already well versed in energy attribute certificates or renewable energy certificates, or RECs, as they're oftentimes called. I'm sure everyone is fairly well versed in this, but for the sake of a review, I want to run through how the vast majority of corporations around the world, from Google to Amazon, Unilever to Procter & Gamble, how they procure renewable energy when they're a business that's buying energy off of the grid. So the way that it functions is that if you see here on the left-hand side of the screen, you have two energy producers, one producing renewable energy, the other one producing non-renewable energy. We've denoted this with green electrons and red electrons. Both of these energy producers are feeding into the grid. And as soon as those electrons enter the grid, they instantly commingle. And it's impossible to determine what source they came from. An electron is an electron is an electron. It doesn't matter where it came from. But on the other end of the grid, there are consumers that have a preference to purchase renewable energy. And so while physically they are buying electrons that are mixed from both renewable and non-renewable, they have the ability to purchase the sustainability attributes associated with the green electrons. And the way that this works is through the introduction of the REC. And so a renewable energy producer, they are, for each megawatt they produce, they're issued one renewable energy certificate. They can then sell this certificate on to the end consumer who wishes to specify that the energy they're buying is just the renewables. And in turn, what they're doing is they're paying a small premium back to the renewable energy producer. This premium, it increases the ROI on that project and allows that energy developer to develop more critically needed renewable energy. So this is the way that the system more or less works all around the world. In the United States, it's a $12 billion voluntary market, growing at a 26% CAGR, estimated to be $100 billion by the end of the decade. Now, what's that have to do with Bitcoin miners? Well, the vast majority of Bitcoin miners around the world, and again, things are moving quickly and changing, the vast majority are buying energy from a grid. And so today, while they're buying from the grid and maybe making claims around the use of sustainability, the reality is that they need to be buying these energy attribute certificates, or RECs, in order to prove that they are indeed using renewable energy. This is the way the system works for companies that represent trillions of dollars in revenue. Everyone uses the same system. And so you can replace this photo here that says, or this logo here that says energy consumers who want to buy renewable energy, you can replace that with Bitcoin miners. Now the question then is, well, how do you then actually verify that they're using or consuming these renewable energy certificates? Well, the process that we're working on right now is a way to transfer this concept of proof of sustainable mining from a miner that's using renewable energy to an ESG investor who wants to own Bitcoin, but also wants a guarantee of sustainability. So the way the process works is that a Bitcoin miner using renewable energy goes through a verification process. Today, we're using a leading renewable energy verification technology that allows for an hourly level of granularity in terms of energy consumption and in terms of REC consumption. And in fact, we are working now with a publicly traded, NASDAQ-listed miner currently doing the first ever hourly level verification of renewable energy at a Bitcoin mine. So once the miner's gone through this verification, they get added into our protocol. And from there, every time the miner mines a Bitcoin, they're issued one sustainable Bitcoin certificate for each Bitcoin that they mine. The sustainable Bitcoin certificate is a representation of proof of sustainable mining. It can be sold from the miner onto an investor, and the investor couples it with their Bitcoin holdings, adding this concept of proof of sustainable mining to their existing Bitcoin holdings. Now, today, as I mentioned, there's nearly $50 trillion in ESG capital that's sitting on the sidelines. But we're already in discussions with multiple ETFs who want to actually convert their ETF from a regular spot Bitcoin ETF to a sustainable Bitcoin ETF. And, you know, this is the future. Once the first one happens, the dominoes will fall, and virtually all institutional investors will start to buy provably, sustainably mined Bitcoin. Now, the SBC, or Sustainable Bitcoin Certificate, it is an on-chain representation of proof of sustainable mining. And really, it's a parallel to Bitcoin that is like Bitcoin, divisible by 100 million. So it makes it really easy for investors to purchase and add to their balance sheet in order to add this concept of proof of sustainable mining, or simply add sustainability to their Bitcoin holdings. Now, as all of you surely know, we have already passed the 19 million mark in terms of the number of Bitcoin that have been mined. There's sub 2 million Bitcoin left to be mined. So the question is, well, how do we address those 19 million Bitcoin that were mined between 2009 and just a couple of months ago when we surpassed 19 million? You know, if we are good stewards of the network, we are good leaders of sustainability, we must address the past, right? We must do something. And so this is actually where things get really interesting, because we can take this challenge of addressing the past and we can create something that's much more powerful as a climate positive asset. Now, if we start to look at this chart here, this is the energy consumption of the network from inception back in 2009 all the way to today. In the earliest days of mining, to mine a single Bitcoin, it required only a couple of kilowatt hours of energy. Really negligible, nothing that anyone would ever have concerns over. Now, as you sort of see across time, 2018, we surpassed 100 megawatt hours to mine a Bitcoin. And in sort of late 2021, we surpassed nearly 300 megawatt hours per Bitcoin. So the question then is, well, okay, how do we address these existing 19 million? And what one could do theoretically is try and determine, using available data, you know, how much energy was used in 2012? How much was used in 2016? Or perhaps take an average of the entire history. But to be honest, I think this is a bit of a fool's errand. The data is not very good. Attempting to do this is a futile exercise. So better, why don't we actually just connect the sustainability of the historically mined Bitcoin to today's energy consumption and every day's energy consumption going forward. So what I mean by that is, you'll see here the green dot, which represents 365 megawatt hours per Bitcoin, which is just sort of a month and a half ago where we were on a per Bitcoin basis. It's actually come down quite significantly. We're probably around 210 to 220 megawatt hours per Bitcoin as of today. But if we take this figure, the most recent figure, and we derive our data from Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, which as of today is probably the most robust data set available. Now, frankly, I think over time, we're going to have more and more accurate, verified data pertaining to energy consumption of the network. But what we'll do here is we can, where this dashed green line is, everything below that is an opportunity to create a climate positive asset. So if we are accounting for the historically mined Bitcoin using the energy consumption today, we can in fact create a climate positive asset that will be able to drive billions of dollars into renewable energy development in a way that's not seen in literally any other industry or asset class. But Bitcoin, as I said before, it's a really unique asset class and unique industry in that it has an ability to hunt out and find stranded and wasted gas sources, wasted energy sources. So while today we'll start with renewable energy verification at the grid level, the path then is to look at miners that are using waste gas and actually verifying that the use of this waste gas is helping to mitigate CO2 equivalents from escaping into the atmosphere. Now, I had an amazing conversation recently with a new mining company that is using waste gas from landfills. And this is literally taking trash and converting it into a store of value. And why this is so unique is because today, this is oftentimes a cost center for a municipality, a town, or a city. And by adding Bitcoin mining into the fold here, they're actually able to take this cost basis and turn it into a new revenue source, creating a stream of revenue for a municipality. Really fascinating stuff, and frankly speaking, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. We are going to see all sorts of unique use cases in terms of mining and capturing this wasted energy sources, and in turn, helping to reduce CO2 equivalents from entering the atmosphere. So let's get back to the vision. The vision is around verification and telling the story through data and visualization. So it's our long-term objective to be the centralized repository for all data pertaining to verified environmental impacts of Bitcoin at large. And so here today, we have a map of the United States. I intend for this to expand globally, of course, as Bitcoin mining is in fact a global industry. But the way that we're looking at it today is looking at 3 different types of climate impact. So the first one is the verified renewable energy consumption. Today, there is no verification that exists for miners, no standardization. So let's get rid of this guessing game of, the network is 20% or 30%. Let's have a verified answer to know how much renewable energy. And let's put it out there in a way that's transparent to stakeholders around the world so that institutional investors with ESG mandates, they can come and they have a centralized place and they can see exactly the impacts, the positive environmental impacts that their Bitcoin holdings can drive. The second one down here is let's graphically or visualize the CO2 reduction that I was just talking about, or the CO2 equivalent reduction that I was just talking about. And third, let's visualize how this protocol that's being built is actually driving capital into renewable energy development. If we do this, we start to have something that virtually no industry has ever had before. A centralized place that shows exactly the positive environmental impact that this asset class is able to drive. And so, while I am technology agnostic, I actually think that long-term, multiple blockchains are going to be used. I know that as the oldest blockchain and sort of the grande dame of the industry, when Bitcoin leads, everything follows. So as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. So from my perspective, it's important that all of us have a unified idea of how we can address this big challenge for the entire industry and for the world. And so through this work, we believe that institutional adoption, particularly institutional adoption that is governed by ESG mandates, is going to accelerate in terms of Bitcoin adoption and crypto adoption at large. I want to thank, again, Protocol Labs and Filecoin for hosting this important conference. It's really such a pleasure to have the opportunity to share some of the ideas and work that my team has been working on now for about 18 months. I think that we're really on the precipice of seeing a big change in the way that the world views crypto and Bitcoin at large. Once the data is out there, once stakeholders can really see the impact, institutional adoption, I'm quite certain, is going to take off. So I will be around for the rest of the conference. I certainly hope to meet many more of you. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation, and I'll open things up to any questions that the audience may have. Otherwise, we'll wrap up, and wishing everyone a really lovely afternoon.